My name is Dan Markovitz. I'm a consultant and an author of 2 books, A Factory of One and Building the Fit Organization. With all due respect to Drew Locker with his great story about cutting airplane engine lead time in half, and the person who we reduced subcontracting turnaround time to 1 day, our next speaker has done something really amazing and unbelievable with Kata. She actually used Kata to eliminate email hell for all of her direct reports, which is pretty darn impressive. It is my profound pleasure to introduce Melissa Christman.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right. I am so excited to be here. And I really related to what Deidre just said. Wouldn't it be great if? I said that 4 years ago, the first time I attended KataCon, and said, wouldn't it be great if I had a story to share someday? And here I am. So I am from Tidy Products, and I am responsible for continuous improvement and training within our Neenah location. We have been working with our frontline staff and developing them using Kata. So first, a little bit about who's Tidy Products. We're a medical device manufacturer. We have 3 locations, one in Changshu, China, Tijuana, Mexico, and Neenah, Wisconsin, which is where I'm from. Our purpose is to support caregivers and protect patients. Our products, you've probably used many of them and had no clue they were from us. They're used in medical offices, dental offices, operating rooms, hospitals, and they support patient safety. So about 6 years ago, I read the book. I got excited. I started practicing on my own, on some of my own personal processes. I became a believer. And over the last 5 years, I've tried to coach and teach others, new learners, how to use a Kata process and to start using Kata thinking. I failed miserably many times. So from my learnings, I started to think about, how do I simplify this? How do I make this a little less complex? How do I make it more relatable? Because what I found is new learners were becoming too caught up in current condition, what is that? Target condition, what are you talking about? So I started thinking about another lean guru out there, Paul Akers, and his concepts of 2-second lean. And I thought, what if I mashed these 2 theories together? What would that look like? So what my current experiment is to set the direction or the challenge at save 2 seconds per day. And the current condition, well, it bugs them. Their target condition is, it doesn't bug me any longer. This has opened up our frontline associates to really practice developing foundational skills using the 8 forms of waste to identify obstacles, doing PDCA cycles, and using low-cost rapid experimentation. This has given them a focus on daily practice. So how did we get started? Well, we had 3 of us. We locked ourselves in my office one day and just started writing on my whiteboard. We started to develop a lean management system for this new experiment. We identified the roles and the responsibilities for the folks who would be involved. We identified what kind of training do we need to provide these folks. And then we came up with our communication plan. So after those couple of hours in my office, we looked back and said, I think we're ready, and we invited the associates in to start talking to them. So our first step when starting a new model area is to provide training. And we wanted to make sure that we provided the minimal amount in the classroom training. These aren't folks who wanted to spend half a day or several days learning about Kata. But we needed to provide them something. So we thought if we give them some time to learn the 8 forms of waste so they could identify obstacles, and then learn how to use their PDCA cycles record so they could document their experiments. We would just provide them 1 hour of training, and then the rest of the learning would be by doing. Our next step was to establish metrics and create visual management. Now, we've all heard metrics drive behaviors, right? So traditionally, our supervisors would hand out productivity numbers to our associates every day. Here you go, great job yesterday. Oh, numbers were a little low, what happened? Do a better job today, right? Improvements don't happen from that. So we thought, what do we need to do differently? What behaviors do we want to drive? Well, if we want to drive the behavior of doing daily improvement, then let's measure that. So within this experimental area, we talk every day about the number of PDCA cycles completed and the number of seconds saved. In addition, the machine operator, is also tracking their cartons per hour. That's really used as a lagging metric. It's something we use for trending purposes. It's not something we talk about every day. And the operator board is the one on the left. On the right side, you'll see the larger board. That's the team board. So the team comes together every day at 12:45, and they do their own huddle, and that's their opportunity to share what experiments they're working on and to get input from their coworkers. Our next step was to establish leader standard work for the problem-solving coach. It's not good enough to just empower associates to make improvements. How often have we been told you're empowered to go do that? And nothing really happens, right? What we really needed to do is provide them the time and the support. And we did that by transforming one of our team leads into a problem-solving coach to support just 4 individuals in our initial experiment. And we created the time and the space within his day to be able to provide that support. The fourth thing we did, and I think the most important, is to add some fun. I always tell people just because it's work, it doesn't mean we can't have some fun. So we ask of the teams as they start 3 things. The first thing is to create a team name. Our first model area, they chose the name Gown Town. So that's kind of set the tone that now we call each of these model areas towns. The next thing they're asked to do is create a theme for their scoreboard. It could be a game, a sport, a movie, whatever it is they think is fun. So our first model area, Gown Town, they chose Tidyopoly. How it works is for each PDCA cycle they've completed, they get to move a space along the board. And for every second saved, that's their net worth. It just makes it a little fun. And when they pass go, they get a treat from the canteen. Third thing they do is they get to choose a color for their t-shirt. Now, all of this helps the excitement of starting something new. We know when we go into the learning zone, it's also the uncomfortable zone. People remember how they feel and how things make them feel. So we try to remember, hey, this is fun and something that's exciting. The other thing we've learned as we've watched over the last year and a half is this is the first problem that the team solves together, and it starts forming them as a team. So it's important to add some fun. Well, so we're going to listen to Kim here, who's going to tell us more.
Grab my putty knife, grab my stuff screw, maneuver into a little area. Like this much I can't reach. My arms are too short.
So that's the kind of process that bugs our frontline associates. That's something she'd done for years. In fact, I tell you, she's done that for decades, and they just struggle through it. So she's now in one of our model areas in one of our towns, and Tina will be talking a little bit about the experiments they ran in that area.
So Tina, what was the problem you were trying to solve?
I couldn't reach all the way across the seal bar. I couldn't, it's 3 feet long, and there's only an 11-inch opening that you have to squiggle through, and I couldn't reach completely over to the east side.
Okay, so what was your first experiment?
I took the putty knife and asked one of the maintenance men if they had something that I could tape on here, so that make it longer. And it worked, but it didn't quite get all the way across yet. So he brought me a hollow piece of pipe, which was way too heavy. And so then we tried it with the PVC, and that works perfect.
All right. So what did you learn?
That something so simple can make our job so much easier.
So when I did these videos, these were all one take. I just walked up to them and said, could you share your stories? And I was blown away by her words. I was really blown away. So this is what the process looks like today.
I'll just hang out.
So Kim, it's time to clean the seal bar. What is the new process?
No step ladder. Got the longer one. Done.
Done. That's simple. That's what happens when you enable, not just empower, but you actually enable your frontline associates. So I just want to repeat something Tina said. Something so simple can make our jobs so much easier. This is something where they're taking it on, they're leading these efforts, and we're just there to give them time and support. So what are we getting from this? Well, we're all business people here, so we do want business results, right? So our first 3 towns, you see them here. These are the charts of their cartons per hour from January last year to January this year, and there's a positive trend line on every one of them. Incorporating improvement and coaching routines into our everyday work processes has created long-term and sustainable results. Why do I believe they're long-term and sustainable? Well, all our experimentation is happening on first shift. These charts are actually the productivity of the combination of first through third shift. We're seeing the same improvements happening on second and third shift that we are happening on first. More importantly, what are we getting? We're getting individual development. We didn't plan on this, but we've learned this along the way. About 2 years ago, we had created a career path for our machine operators. It looked really great on paper, but we had no process or system to be able to actually support them in their development. What we've learned as we're teaching them problem skills, it's also developing them within their careers. So our level 2 through 4 operators, they're working on those teeny tiny pebbles that come up every single day. They're using 8 forms of waste to identify obstacles, and they are using those PDCA cycles and low-cost rapid experimentation. As they start developing those problem-solving skills, they're able to move on to solving bigger problems, so those bigger pebbles. And they are able to move up to a problem-solving coach 1 role. In fact, we've had 2 of our frontline associates who have been promoted into this problem-solving coach 1. They're able to coach the PDCAs of their coworkers, begin to learn how to do root cause analysis, and then begin to use maybe a fuller starter kata. The next step up the ladder is to become a problem-solving coach 2. That's an individual who should be able to coach the coach root cause analysis, begin to use A3s and use kata thinking for transformational improvements. So at this point, I've been playing the second coach role for the last 1.5 years, but I'm going to be turning those reins over to one of our supervisors. He's actually in the room somewhere today. There he is back there. And he's actually going to be taking on that role now. So developing problem-solving skills, what we've learned is it's helping our associates move along the career path. It's also, we also have associates now who don't just see it as a job until they get to their next job, but they're starting to see Tidy as a place they want to grow. So our journey, what does this look like? September of 2018 is when we started our first town. That was Gowntown. We didn't do it in secret. We made sure we were communicating and telling others what was going on so that they could be curious and be asking questions. In February of 2019, we started the second group. So how were we able to do that? We took the problem-solving coach from the first group, moved him over to Folder Frenzy so he could start the second group. And we were able to promote one of our associates who'd been the practitioner or learner in the first group up to a problem-solving coach. Now it was getting kind of exciting, and a lot of stories were happening. We're seeing frowns turn to smiles within these groups. Attitudes are changing, and some of the negativity is turning into positivity within this new culture that we started. What's happened with that is that's created pull from other associates. We've had numerous associates raising their hands saying, was it my turn? When can we be part of this? So last fall, we had 3 more towns start up. In fact, our first town within distribution started up in the past September. So at this point, we have over a third of our production floor on first shift who are part of one of these towns doing daily improvements. As of January of this year, 1,740 experiments have been completed. I know that number has grown significantly since then. For over 55,000 seconds saved, which equates to about 15 hours every shift. So what's not included in this number? Well, these folks are this has become the way they think. And so sometimes they're making improvements and they're not even bothering to document them or to write down the saved time. It also doesn't show us the number of safety improvements they've made and the amount of frustration they've eliminated from their day-to-day work. So what's next for us? Well, this week as I speak, our next town has begun. They call themselves the City of Winders. By the end of this quarter, we're expecting to start one more town. And sometime mid-year-ish, we expect to have all of first shift as a resident of one of these towns. Then our next challenge, how do we create that same time and support for our second and third shift? Because they're pulling too. So what we've learned so far, minimal training is required. So in the year and a half, we haven't altered that. We still are just providing 1 hour of training up front. Time and support, they are required. Setting routines helps us learn new habits. There's a direct correlation between coaching walks and the number of PDCA cycles. There's a coaching walk that happens every morning with every individual who's in one part of these towns. And that helps assist them and support them in doing their own experiments. Leader-standard work helps to keep us from slipping back into old routines. It's too easy to let the day-to-day things that bombard us take over. So we want to make sure that we're staying consistent. The importance of a second coach. That's really been very critical to be there for our first level coaches as they're learning and developing new skills. And we cannot go faster than our coaching ability and capacity. With the pull that we've experienced and our desire as leaders to go fast, we have to continually remind ourselves of that we can't go faster than our capacity for coaching. Communication, communication, communication. I can't say that enough. From the beginning, we made sure that this wasn't done in a secret pod and no one knew what was happening. We wanted to make sure to share the stories and to let everyone know so they could become curious. It's difficult to be a trailblazer, but we can change the culture. We're seeing it happen. It takes about 3 to 6 months for people to start thinking a new way. And a really key learning for us, this is all about developing the people. I remember when our director of operations up front really just was thinking about business results, and now to listen to him a year and a half later, he will tell you this. This is about developing people. We'll get results, but this is really what's important about this. What we've learned is Kata is building confidence in our operators, not just in their problem-solving skills, but in running their piece of equipment in their day-to-day job. It's creating teamwork. We've gone from just being a group of individuals running our own machines to actually working together as a team. And it's creating collaboration between the operators and the different support functions. And as leaders, what we've reflected on over the past year is discipline to the process is really key. So, thank you.